And we're live.
Hi, folks. Oh my goodness, trying to get all those ducks in a row. All
Still
those.
don't see any people.
Um. Well,
I'm sure
I
there's
don't
people
know
in
where I
the
put my
room.
damn phone.
Is
Oh,
that
there
what?
it is. It's hidden. It's hiding. Um, because it's supposed to stream on all my things.
Okay, let me. Oh, there's somebody. Okay, well, it's just not showing anybody joined. So
Hi, Hitch and John.
I see people in the chat
Let
now.
us know if you can hear us. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's on my feed now. Like
Okay.
I've seen it posted.
That's,
Um,
oh, maybe the people setting is for like guests you invite on the show and
oh, there
not.
they go.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's what it is.
Very good.
Alden is here. Goji65. Hi, 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 hi.
The ink slicer, pink
The
waving
ink
hand. I
slicer.
don't.
Hey, Billy. Billy.
So, what are we doing today?
That's drawn lizards. Um,
Specifically, why lizards and which lizard?
um, we're drawing Godzilla. Um,
But which one? Isn't there like, I don't know, what is it, 54 of them or something? That's how it works, right?
50. I mean, I'm looking at the shelf behind me. It looks about like 54.
I'm just making a joke since that was the first one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was like, there's a pun in there somewhere. No. We're doing the original Godzilla. That's right. We're doing 1954. I'm just doing some prefab artwork for G-Fest since we can't sell prints there. So it's the same. It would be the same as if we were going to Tokyo. Is this what I want to do with 54? Everybody does that with 54. I want to do
We'll
something a
do
little
something
different.
different and use more pencil so people can see what the hell you're doing.
It's not my problem. They can't see it.
Yes, it is.
No, it's
I
not.
would just suggest you just go straight to Sharpie and do it.
I think I'd rather set myself on fire. Yeah. I got my Toho. What is this? What are these called? The Toho SFX Movies Authentic Visual Book. See, if you add more words to the title, it makes it fancier. Um, Oh, that would be hilarious to do the doofy
What
little
is?
Godzilla puppet. Would be amazing. Oh, what's up? What is what?
I'm just trying to decipher Billy's comment. Don't do purple
Oh,
octopuses.
octopuses, lizards. Oh, he's making a reference to a TV show. That
Oh.
was it was a DC superhero TV show where Ishiro Honda was a character.
Gotcha.
These guys were going back in time. They were trying to stop bad stuff from happening, and they went back to 1954, and they were like, oh man, this is director Honda, and well, don't tell him anything about the future. And then at the end of the episode, they had saved like Honda and stuff, and they had stopped the time stream from falling apart.
See, I told you still screen and screen. It's doing the chat and the video. That's what I guess what's
Oh,
do y'all want to? Do y'all want me to try to make the art full screen so you can see it better? Is the chat like too big and
it's
making the art
really.
too small?
I'm gonna mess with something. Oh, that one's off. Yeah. Um.
Is it too bright? Here, let me click the button. Let me see if that helps. It just keeps auto correcting itself. Like it's basically staying.
Whoa, that's too dark. That's way too dark.
That's the first you can actually see it on the screen, though.
Well, they'll just have to take my word for it that it's
Just push your pencil down harder.
Again, I would rather jump out of the window. I'd rather have a spider in my face. You know I don't like spiders.
Wait, there's a Bride of Godzilla. Scott Hamilton's like, I'd love to see you draw some scenes from Brides of Godzilla.
It was a proposal by one of the original screenwriters.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so weird. I love it though.
And Brian says, Ghostbusters versus Godzilla. Go, Matt.
Oh, it's Brian. Hey, Brian. Brian and I just did recently two episodes of Junk Food Cinema, talking about Godzilla 54.
Oh,
Man, I bet you Godzilla versus Ghostbusters is definitely a crossover that IDW could probably make happen. It would be very silly. It would be silly.
And so we got a couple of hellos from Florgasive, Junior Livingstone, Ace of Cards, Scott Hamilton. Let's do this thing. Let me scroll. Oh, that's right, because I had to use my phone to backlog the chat. I have to log it on my phone. Matt.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I guess you know what, I'm overthinking it when it comes to Godzilla's pose for 54 because it's historically a very stiff suit. Oh, it's flipped. I just noticed that.
Oh, so it is. I can go into the camera. I don't know if I can go into the camera settings and I can try to go into the camera settings and see if
yeah, they're probably down there in the bottom right. No. Do it on the no, down. See where that little gear is. Yeah, try that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Video. Let's see. Mirror camera. There we go.
There we go.
You clicked that earlier.
I thought you clicked that.
No, I showed you where it was and you clicked it. So is that right? Yes, that is correct now. Okay. Sorry to make y'all dizzy. Darth Lord 97 said hi to me since everybody's saying hi to you. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I have been seen. I exist.
Keep telling me.
And Kaiju Jaeger says, as long as you don't recreate the Unleashed model of 1954 Godzilla.
I thought that model was fine. It's just, it was a Wii game. All the models were a little derpy.
Oh, and Florga Steve said, Ultraman is meeting the Avengers later this year.
That is true. It's something that's been in the works for a while, and they're finally doing it. It's going to be very interesting, because crossovers are always tricky.
And the Dino Drawer asked, "Hey Matt, I was wondering how long have you been drawing for?"
I mean, I've been drawing. It's one of a drawing. Bleh. For a lot of folks, I mean, you start drawing when you're a little kid,
and you just never stop.
You just never stop. You just you're in it at a certain point. And there's just nothing to be done. But I mean, professionally, like full time as an artist, I think 14 years. Probably more than that at this point. I was getting jobs before I was out of college, so.
Wait, is this it? That's the
There's
thing
the chat.
Needed. Okay, so now I can't. Let me hide this and see. Okay, do y'all like that better? Do you like it better not seeing the chat in the stream?
Sound off. We're doing market research.
And Hinchin John said, I know what you mean about posing 54. Ran into the same challenge for the collab last November. Okay, so we have one that's preferred seeing the chat. Other folks? Because I don't know if y'all individually see your chat. I guess it would be per platform you're on. So if you're on, Twitch, you would just be seeing, Twitch folks chatting. Dalius, I am so sorry if I mispronounced your name. I'm just going to say Individual Rodriguez says, hi, I met Megumi Odaka today at Monster Palooza.
Oh, yeah. Odaka-san is at Monster Palooza. That's very cool. I'm glad that she's coming back to the States and doing stuff.
Okay, I'm trying to turn the chat back on because we got a few. So let me figure out how to do that. Let's see.
I mean, they want to be seen too.
Yeah. So channel, video. Nope, that's not there. Well, it had a little thing, just hide it, or there should be a little thing that says show it. Is it right? No, not in settings. Add source, perhaps.
No.
No, that's screen share. Brian Salisbury says, "Here's some other bonkers crossover ideas I came up with for Matt to tell me already exist. Godzilla versus Predator. Godzilla meets the Wolfman. Honey, I Shrunk the Godzilla. Godzilla Goes Police Academy. Godzilla versus Kramer."
Okay, so 2 of those exist. Godzilla meets the Wolfman. Absolutely was my fellow Godzilla fans can confirm this. There was a fan film that was being made in the 80s, I want to say, by a bunch of like former Toho employees, or at least a few of them. And it was called The Legendary Super Beast Wolfman versus Godzilla. And it was about a dude who gets cursed with Wolfman powers, but he grows gigantic to fight and fights Godzilla. Honey, I Shrunk the Godzilla is the plot of not just one of the Marvel comics or a couple of the Marvel comics that were made in the 70s, but also the plot of one of the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla episodes. So, buttons.
Billy said, "I dug out some old Kid Kaiju drawings of mine and realized I trace over Bob Eggleton's art on Saraceni's.
Saraceni's.
There we go, novel or something. I mean, everybody starts with tracing."
Yeah, I mean, I literally talked to a young person recently who is mostly learning just by pretty much just tracing my stuff, and yeah, I mean, like I did that when I was younger, where I was like trying to draw the Trendmasters Godzilla, as well as the Trendmasters Godzilla based on the trading cards. Godzilla 54 here is coming together.
Aha! I found the button.
Yay!
Okay. The Ink Slicer says, "I feel like it's a crime Godzilla versus Dracula isn't a thing." And Raph Dude says, "So Godzuki is the key to it all, right?"
Sure. Oh, Godzuki. It's just a lot of people kind of poo-poo Godzuki and Manila and all that, and I'm just like, I think they're funny. I think they're silly.
Billy says he loves the angle with the jaws and fingers. I'm glad y'all can actually see it. I can barely see it on my screen.
It's coming together. I'm going to transition over to pen and ink now.
Oh, so we can actually see now. It's going to be like a magic trick. Strain your eyes. Oh my goodness, look, you can see it. Radstar Father says, "Yeah, I remember trying to learn to draw kaiju when I was (?14), and I did admittedly trace over some of your art to try and learn." Why is that a bad thing? Like, why are you?
Well,
like, that's how everybody learns.
Because because there's a stigma towards tracing, and it is just like one of those things. You learn. It's the same thing as like doing music or doing comedy or writing. You
emulate.
To quote Patton Oswalt, you have to sound like a lot of other people before you find your voice.
And I remember the first comic book I made with my brother and sister. I don't know, I was like 10.
I've never heard the story.
Yes, you have.
Okay.
But it was this little space adventure type thing, and it was a book we were given for Christmas where it has all these different aliens in different poses, so you can just trace over them as you build your panels. Like, it was more about the design of getting it than it was, coming up with your own art. It was like, oh, okay, this is how you put a comic book together.
I mean, yeah, that's I can definitely appreciate that. Like, I think the important thing is just keeping it in your head that you are emulating someone else, and this is not your voice. When you're tracing stuff.
Fafito asks, "Have you gotten Godzilla -1 on digital yet?"
I know it's on Netflix, but I haven't. I've seen Godzilla -1 - color on YouTube, but I haven't seen like the regular thing.
The physical media yet?
Well, no. I haven't seen it like available for like purchase, the colored version on like YouTube. I mean, maybe Netflix has some sort of overall deal or something.
Kaiju Jaeger asks, have you seen the new Man in the Suit video, Ghidorah Incident, or have you seen any of the videos?
I've seen some of them. Like I've seen a little bit of like the Man in the Suit video. I saw saw the thumbnail earlier today for the Ghidorah one, but I haven't watched it yet. I think I need to find different videos because the ones I found for like Man in the Suit and stuff but that's not to say that I haven't found, like, it seems like there's a lot of videos, but it is cool that like people are making new like spooky creepy pastas based on Godzilla. I think that's really funny and very cool. I think that there's an animator on YouTube who goes by Tayaki, who I think would make a really cool Man in the Suit Godzilla horror video kind of thing.
Darth Lord went back to the tracing. As an artist, tracing is kind of frowned upon. It's seen as cheating and compensating for a lack of talent. Okay, if you're a professional artist and you're tracing, absolutely. But how did you learn your alphabet? You traced letters. Like, that is the first step in getting your muscles comfortable with doing the actions. Like, if you're turning a school project, it's all traced, absolutely. But if you're just trying to learn a new craft, I don't see an issue. Do you disagree?
Well, I think that that's all Dark Lord is saying, is that it's simply frowned upon because of the broader cultural stigma and the idea that, like, stealing somebody else's style or and it's also, I agree with you fundamentally that like tracing is a great tool for learning. It's just so long as you maintain in your own mind that this is a tool, this is an exercise.
Do you want to talk about a -1 spoiler, or you want to wait longer? Has the movie been out long enough for you to talk about specifics in -1?
I mean, there's certain things. Show it to me. I mean, what Hensha John is talking about is like, I think just looks like speculation. I think I know what he's referencing, but it's not like, I don't know if we're even gonna get a sequel to -1.
Oh, there's a Lori here too.
Oh, that's a Lori?
I'm watching while we're unboxing 17 million hoodies for shipping out.
17 million.
What was the specific terminology?
The X series of hoodies. They were very cool. Yay! Hi, Lori.
Oh, Callie said hi too. I don't know if you heard her
this little
in the background.
It's because we're not paying attention to her.
Tom Bazooka asked, "Hey Matt, I'm trying to get one of my friends into Godzilla and don't know where to start. Could you possibly give us an updated essentials list? If you don't start that with -1, your list is wrong."
Jesus Christ. I would say that -1 is pretty much the ideal game.
Callie!
Shut up. If -1 is a perfectly fine gateway drug situation for Godzilla, and it's because it's Godzilla for normies, and there's nothing wrong with that. I understand that this is a weird niche genre that's can be kind of hard to get into, so yeah, I'd say start with -1 and kind of go from there. I do have like a curated list that I personally tend to recommend to people a bit.
Oh, we have 530 people, FYI.
Oh my God. What are you people doing?
Anna Mia, I hope I pronounced that correctly. I'm sorry if I didn't. Hello, Mr. Frank. I have a question. Do you have any advice for drawing kaiju?
Ooh, well, let me think. Let me get my thoughts lined up. I mean, the thing I usually tend to say to people is what's important is learning to draw a bunch of other stuff as well, because the better you are at everything, the better you are at everything. That doesn't make any sense. Let me retry that. So when it comes to kaiju, if I need to get really specific, part of the appeal of kaiju is their texture. That's not to say you can't do very simplistic kaiju. Xander Cannon made this highly acclaimed comic series called Kaiju Max, where all the characters are fairly simple in their designs. I think it just depends. It's like anything else. It depends on what kind of style you're going for, and you want to convey size, you want to convey power, or you don't. If you want them to be cute, you can just make them weird and cute and lumpy. That's one of the beauties of kaiju, is that you can kind of do whatever you want because they don't exist. So, anyway. You don't exist?
No, I'm a figment of your imagination.
I knew it. Friggin'
You'll
knew
one
it.
day get the right combination of medication, just I'll be gone. And you realize why you're tired all the time, because you're doing every single thing you think I am doing, plus what you do.
I don't care for this existential panic you've just dropped me into, especially on stream.
And the definition of what I did is called
gaslighting.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Well, Joey S says hello, and it's an awesome 54 so far.
Yay.
Thank you. Godzilla King of the Espers, level 54 Esper. That's a long ass name. Have you read The World of Kong? It was a tie-in book to Kong 05 and acts as a zoological field guide for the version of Skull Island.
Yeah, I used to take that book with me to my classes in college so that I could keep reading it, because I was more interested in that than I was in my classes.
We have a Bob here.
Jesus.
A Bob Eggleton.
Oh, it's
Bob.
Hi, Bob.
See you in 6 weeks or so?
About a month.
Yeah, about it, because I just booked the tickets today. Yep, right at a month.
Bubble.
Radstar Father says, kaiju are real to me, Matt.
Yeah, that's what the voices tell me too. Yeah, that would be nice.
Darth Lord said, considering how much casting goes on about sex ed, her being a figment of Matt's imagination raises serious questions.
Yeah, that's telling on old Matt quite a bit.
Second Gen Heisei said, what's your favorite kaiju to draw so far?
I mean, it's pretty much Godzilla, just really because it's the easiest, as I've been doing him for so long. However, he's definitely I appreciate a challenge, and so I like drawing. I don't know. I don't know. I like drawing kaiju that are that have fun, weird proportions too, like Baragon and Anguirus, being quadrupedal kaiju, make them really fun to make them fun to draw.
Guess who else is here?
Who?
Riley Harlock, and she greets us both and says Happy Pride, which is a great tie-in.
That's a good segue.
Go pull it. Thank you, Riley. You just made money for an organization just by bringing up Pride, because not that we would have forgotten about it, but we hadn't talked about it yet.
So this is the original for this way. This is the original for the new print that I just had. We're in the process of making it. There's a butterfly in my ass.
There's a
butterfly in my ass. Anyway, this is the original. Shut up.
She wanted to sing with us.
Well, that's too bad. Anyway, yeah, this is this is the thing. Donnie's here.
I was getting to that.
Yeah, well.
Just quit reading chat. That's my job.
So yeah, I'm making copies of this, and we are selling copies of this artwork.
Let me throw the link in the chat, like a good chat moderator.
In our on the Big Cartel store. And yeah, we are donating 20% of all proceeds
No, that's not it.
to the. No,
There it is.
there you go. We're donating 20% of all proceeds to Equality Texas, which is a Texas-based charity that fights for the rights of LGBTQ legitimate members of the community here in Texas. As some of you probably know, Texas is an aggressively anti-LGBTQIA state, even though we have such a huge population here. I mean, just when you have a population as big as Texas, it's gonna be a purple state. It's not gonna be a red state, but that doesn't matter because gerrymandering and all that other fun stuff. But yeah, so we're donating 20% of sales of this of the print version of this,
which will be the same size.
It'll be the same size. It's about 10.7 inches by 9.6 inches. It's a shikishi board, so it's a weird size. But yeah, and this is the original, and I had a lot of fun making this with
so
my.
Pretty.
I even I don't know if it's possible to see on the capture, but I used silver and gold markers to kind of give it a little bit of a sparkle. Oh my lord.
Okay, and guess who's here?
Who's here?
Johnny's here.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm behind where live chat is, so I can read everybody's questions.
Sure.
Hey, Johnny, we got a whole little group here.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's very cool. It's like a little warm up before G-Fest, and I know a lot of.
Speaking of Johnny and G-Fest.
So we're figuring out the logistics of it, but we're hoping that Donnie can come to our table at G-Fest and have a little mini signing one of the days at the convention, so that
signing of what?
I was about to get to that. Signing copies of the Godzilla 70th anniversary anthology that he and I worked on together. If of course he'll have us.
He was excited, and we're going to quote unquote buy some of Donnie's books, so you can buy Donnie's books at our table.
Yeah,
and he can sign them for you.
Yeah,
his poetry books.
Yes.
If you don't know who Donnie is.
Yeah, Donnie does poetry. That's why. That's why Caston suggested that I ask him.
Yay.
To help me with the 70th anniversary thing.
Move it up just a little.
Oh.
There you go. Dave Cooksey asked, "Hey, I was just thinking about you, Matt. I just watched Godzilla -1 this morning.
Nice.
For the first time, I said."
Ooh.
That's so good.
I mean, a lot of fans are like a lot of fans. Well, not I shouldn't say fans, but a lot of people who are a little more casual about Godzilla are getting to watch it for the first time. Because I noticed something very interesting when -1 was coming. Oh my god, when -1 was coming out. Because because we got to go to the premiere in Los Angeles.
Fancy.
And there was really, as far as like quote unquote celebrities go, I think there was Seth Green, Michael Dougherty, and maybe one or two other people. But for the most part, like it wasn't like you wouldn't say it was like a star-studded event. Not that it needed to be, but now words kind of spread about Godzilla -1, and people are kind of like, oh, it's this Godzilla movie that won an Oscar. What's that about?
Ratboy Miki asked a legitimate question since it's time for us to update. Why are we here today? What is the point?
I don't know. Why are we anywhere?
Because we were asked last stream to do more art streams so people can ask you about it, and also coinciding that with getting some stock ready for G-Fest, because we can't sell prints. So you have to sell originals.
Yes, which it comes with the territory.
And also says he's looking forward to meeting you again at Giganticon.
Oh, awesome! Yay, fellow Giganticon.
Darth Lord asked, if you could give a personality less kaiju, if you could give
a personality less kaiju, a personality.
Okay. Like what Quasi's animations did for Baragon, Hedorah, among others, what would you come up with?
I don't know. That's hard to consider because like a lot of the kaiju are kind of given personality by the fandom. Um, that's hard to say. I guess it's just because I already have like these headcanon versions of the monsters of their various personalities, and it's just been in my head since I was a teenager and writing like fan fiction and stuff. So I don't know. I'll have to think about that.
And Fantasy Kaiju asked, the Mothra artwork is cool and was amazing, but was it Rainbow Mothra or a different incarnation? Because nobody's seen that Mothra before.
That's Rainbow Mothra. I specifically referenced the model from Mothra Rebirth of Mothra 3, where her antennae are swooped backwards. I just took the wings and literalized the rainbow aspect.
Cool.
Mhm.
Second Gen Heisei asked, if -1 does get a sequel, what kaiju would you like to see fight Gojira?
It's hard. It's very hard to say because um, part of the reason that -1 is so strong is because it's so focused on the human story. And when you start introducing other monsters, it can get a little fuzzy. Like you'd have to. It would get that's very tricky. It's very tricky. I would say it would be nice to see a classic monster that's a little less that hasn't had a lot of time in the spotlight. Like a lot of people are saying they'd like to see Anguirus, and I think that would be oh, puppy dog. I think that would be fun. It would be cool to see like a modern Anguirus, or if you just want to go straight for the jugular, just do Mothra. So you can have because the original Mothra versus Godzilla has one of the strongest human casts in the original series. Like I watched it recently with a friend of mine, and they for the first time, and they said of the main trio, big thruple energy, which I thought was very funny.
Lucian asked about the store, does it only accept PayPal? Yes, we only do credit cards, but the cut they take from it would mean we would likely have to raise our prices.
Yeah, and they're already uncomfortably high for my taste.
Yeah, I'd like to do them much cheaper, but when you do any sort of credit or online payment processing, the amount of money they take out of it is insane. So yes,
Yeah.
as of now, it's just PayPal, or you can find us at a convention that is not G Fest and get prints.
Yeah. I was surprised how friggin' easy it was to set up Big Cartel.
Yeah, I
I
really
was-
like him, Big Cartel. I will suggest that to anybody.
Really upset at how easy it was because I had been avoiding doing an online store for so long.
Well, if y'all recall, the store that I made, which was all through Google Slides.
Yeah.
And just do the email process. Like
it was a great solution for the time, but it was also just like
cumbersome.
Clunky and cumbersome, and but yeah, we really appreciate the new store getting the attention it has, and it's been a big success.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
G Slayer, wow! I actually made it to a Matt Frank stream.
Hello, G Slayer.
I wonder what the G stands for.
God Slayer.
No, the joke is we're in a Godzilla stream. So what else? I was going to make a dirty joke, but it's obviously Godzilla.
I mean, it's
G Slayer.
Oh my god,
that'd be cool.
I can't take you anywhere, including my own streams.
Radstar Father, if a Space Godzilla and Godzilla 2001 both actually ended up being made into films, which do you think would be crazier?
Oh, a Space Godzilla. Godzilla 2001, I'm not quite sure what they're referring to with that one.
Wait, but shouldn't that be one title? Godzilla 2001, A Space Godzilla Odyssey? That's not one movie?
I think that flicked into my head for a second, and then I just blew past it into like a fact. I think I know which one they're talking about with Godzilla 2001. It was like this proposed script of, if I remember correctly, like Jesus Christ comes back and but he's like an alien, and he's just like, hey, I'm here to do the rapture, and the rapture is I'm going to eradicate all of humanity, and then Godzilla appears as his tool of destroying humanity.
Oh boy.
Very weird. I'm down for it though. Very Devil Man.
Ooh.
However, I don't know. That one would have to be like a weird anime or something, because Toho, I can say this through personal experience. You know, Toho gets a little finicky when it comes to religious based stuff. You know, I think they're very aware of the fact that stuff needs to play in America to a certain extent, and they don't want to get too like the cross in Godzilla King of the Monsters that you know, Ghidorah was screaming behind. That, as I think about as far as they want to go with it. But Space Godzilla, that's another one that like fusses with the Godzilla canon so much that it's like the thing I like most about that proposal is the image of Godzilla swimming through this sea of stars with Jupiter. Like, it's like he's swimming through the ring of Jupiter or something, or the ring of Saturn or something like that.
I was about to say.
Well, I know Jupiter has a ring, doesn't it?
All of the large gas giants / ice giants have rings, but the only ones that are really visible are Saturn. And the ones for Uranus are made out of basically coal, so they're pitch black. And you can only see them when a star goes behind them and the light of it gets blocked out.
That is so cool. That's how people figured out that stuff.
That's exactly.
I just love that. I think that's really cool.
And what is it? Henshin John. Hey Matt, as someone who's been working on my own comic, any advice for drawing comics traditionally? Oh, what's the definition of traditionally? I guess just by hand as opposed to digital.
Practically, traditionally, gotcha. with practical media. If you wanted to draw comics traditionally, I definitely recommend first off picking an aspect ratio. Like if you wanted like traditional comic book size, get some 11x17 Bristol board. That's what I use, and yeah, and just pick. You know, there's lots of different ways to go about it. And then I ink over it, and then I erase the pencil.
Would you even a water bottle?
Oh yeah. There you go.
Thank you. And I don't know if it's Rick or RIC 1982. How's it going tonight? Hope you're doing well. And artwork is looking awesome.
Thank you. So
it's a little hot here in Texas.
A little warm. Well, not as hot now that we have working AC. Yeah. Good Lord.
That's one thing I can count on in this house is the AC going out at least once per summer, and typically when the feel as temperature is in the 3 digits.
Well, hopefully it won't be an issue again for a while. So,
my house.
Well, that's also true.
Rally says, I love Godzilla just constantly reinventing itself and giving different artists a shot. So I'm A-okay if they reboot it again. Carrie really wants a Shin Mothra, though.
Yeah, I mean, I just want a Mothra movie. I want. What do I want? What do we all? What do any of us want? A new movie that's kind of centered on something that's not Godzilla. You know, something that's from that universe. I mean, that was kind of a plan that Toho had suggested at one point. They were going to do like a kind of like a Marvel style expanded universe where they were going to do like all these different films with different monsters. My personal theory is that Godzilla King of the Monsters came along and kind of torpedoed that, because King of the Monsters was a modest success, but I don't think it was the runaway giant hit that Legendary and Warner Brothers and Toho were kind of hoping it would be. So I think that may have torpedoed some of their ideas to do like an expanded Godzilla universe. Plus the pandemic.
Fantasy Kaiju Geek 54. When the next MonsterVerse film comes out, do you think they will have another original legendary monster, or will we get a classic one?
I would say we are much more likely to keep getting new monsters from Legendary, because they don't have to pay for licensing from Toho. And I think they really want to build out their roster of original monsters. If they could maybe stop killing them off, that would be good, because it's like everyone is real upset about Tiamat getting murked in Godzilla X Kong. Um, Somebody described it perfectly. Godzilla broke into a woman's house, killed her, and took her stuff.
That was me.
Oh, I've heard. Well, it was you, and I've heard it from people on Twitter too.
Yeah, not cool.
It was a little upsetting. I mean, I love a dickhead asshole Godzilla, but
that's a step too far.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Second Gen Heisei, do you believe Godzilla thrives more as a symbolic monster to human conflict rather than a fighting monster?
I think it just is entirely dependent on what you want out of a Godzilla movie. Like, Godzilla is too dark. This is a 4. Godzilla, like I said earlier, it's much easier to make a super compelling.
Oh, pause. Sorry.
Yes.
You should, in this top right corner of all of them, write the version of Godzilla so they all match.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, continue. But it completely.
May I?
You.
So, I think it's dependent on what you are looking for in your Godzilla movie. Because inherently Godzilla's kind of hard to root for, because he's such a dick. Because he's just a big old dick. And I remember my favorite Godzilla movie, GMK, there's a great interview with Shusuke Kaneko, the director, where he just is talking about how Godzilla is just such a fundamentally evil monster. That may have been a translation. I think that he's kind of beyond concepts of good and evil. Again, we're getting into deep thematic territory.
Guess who else is here? Michael Pena. So, Matt, will you be in more Rage Select videos coming up? I know you and Jeff just finished the sequential.
Thank you for asking, Michael. Is that Michael?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know if you jumped to another person or not.
No.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if it's live yet, but there's a Patreon video that Jeff and I just did of the two of us playing Gigabash, because Jeff, you can lead a Jeff to water, but you can't make him drink.
Can you explain a Jeff and a Rage Select to people who don't know what we're talking about?
Jeff is the host of Rage Select, which is the channel that I do. I co-host on, and we do Let's Play videos, kind of old-fashioned, I guess, by the kids' standards these days. But and we just play video games and stuff, and I've been trying to get Jeff to, do like an episode for the new Gigabash, for the Gigabash DLC. But it's very hard to get Jeff to do anything. Well, he wants to run his site the way he wants to, and it's his baby, and I get it. I totally get it. And I love a Jeff. Finally though, he watched Godzilla X Kong and Godzilla -1, and he was like, "You want to do a Gigabash episode so we could just talk about Godzilla for like an hour?" And I was like, "Yes, Jeff, I would like to do that." So that was a Patreon episode, and we went like 50 minutes on that. We almost went a full hour, but we had a really good time, and Jeff loved the hell out of -1. He did. He liked Godzilla X Kong, but by his own admission, the further away from it he got, and the more he reflected on -1, he was like, I actually like it less the further he gets from it. And that's fine, I get it that like the MonsterVerse movies aren't for everybody.
standard individual. Important question to ask. Since King Kong is influential to all directors in each generation, if the first Godzilla film was never made, came out, would film art, etc., be impacted, or would nothing happen?
Okay.
They made a big impact. Basically, if Godzilla and Kong never existed, would the world be different?
Yeah, the world would absolutely be different. We have no idea how that's that butterfly effect stuff. Although, granted, you and I recently had a conversation about the butterfly effect that made me go cross-eyed. But I would say, in a nutshell, one thing that would absolutely be different is Japan's prominence as a global export, because the original Godzilla was the first. It was the first film to come out of Japan internationally to make any, like, quote unquote real money. The highest grossing Japanese film before the original Godzilla was Rashomon, which is a absolute classic, no question. However, I think it only made like $200,000. And granted, this is in like the 1940s, 1950s, so money was different money was different back then. Theater was still kind of a new art form. However, Godzilla came along, and it made $2 million, and like no other, I don't think many other foreign films had made that much money. So I think that, like, just Japan as an export would not have the same impact if it wasn't for something like Godzilla. That's one of the reasons why I'm actually much kinder to the Raymond Burr version of the original than some people are. Some people are like, some people kind of poo-poo the Raymond Burr version, and I think that's needlessly antagonistic. I think that's, and I also think a lot of people who poo-poo the Raymond Burr version are just looking for cool points. What you doing over there?
I'm just typing in chat.
Okay.
I don't know where we were. Okay, no, Michael Pena asked, does manga still do traditional?
Does what?
Like when we were talking about using digital versus...
Does manga still do traditional?
Does manga comics, are they still done on pen and paper?
Okay. I think that depends on the artist. I think a lot of Japanese artists still do manga traditionally, and I think a lot of them do stuff digitally nowadays. Most comics nowadays are done digitally. However, I'm going to move that. That is right in my eyeball.
I think it just keeps listing over.
It's just listing, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm really exploring the possibilities of doing whole comics traditionally. So, because I actually, and I do know artists who do. Bob Eggleton, of course, did a whole Godzilla issue with his paints, his acrylics. One of my favorite comic artists and personal inspirations, Dan Brereton, he works entirely, I believe, with watercolors. And so does the creator of Black Sad, which is one of my favorite indie comics ever made. It's just, that's right. I keep forgetting, Caston. I need to show you Black Sad. Oh. It is so good. Ooh. Beautiful. It's a sort of thing I wish I had the time and patience to do.
CJL asked, hey Matt, do you plan on going to any cons in the Northeast? In Chicago, is that considered Northeast?
No, Chicago is central Midwest. I think Chicago people will definitely correct me.
Maybe a New York one sometime.
Well, I would love to do New York Comic Con. I would friggin' love to do that, but
you gotta get the foot in the door.
You gotta. I filled out a application. I don't know when they're gonna send out the acceptance letters yet. But yeah, no, I want to do cons everywhere. I want to do conventions everywhere. I love traveling. Well, rather, I like being in new places. The act of traveling is one of the worst things in the world. But Although Kasten definitely makes it easier.
Yay! Being super organized with lists helps.
God, I love how when we get ready for a trip and we're like, I think we're done, and we're like weirdly suspicious of how easy it was just because we got it down to a science now.
Mm. The Ink Slicer. What's your definitive favorite Godzilla designs from each era?
Oh, I just popped my neck. Oof. I don't know if anybody could hear that.
No, I was yammering.
Yeah. Definitive designs from each era. As far as the original, the Showa series goes, that would definitely be Godzilla versus the Thing, Mothra versus Godzilla 64. I love that design for Godzilla. It's very elegant. It has this very serpentine quality to it that I think is and it's filmed at this beautiful high camera rate, which means he has this very like slow, elegant gait. Heisei is tough because the Heisei suits all look so damn similar, but I'm gonna say the one, ironically, also the one from Godzilla versus Mothra, but from 1992. That one is very ferocious looking. Hold on, I'm thinking. The Millennium, I'm stuck between Godzilla 2000 and Godzilla 2001. And as far as the Reiwa era goes, like the current era, that's a real big toss-up. Although Godzilla Evolved is really fun and very silly. Sorry, Red Star Father. I know you hate that version, but I like it because it looks like something I would have designed. So,
is that the whole list?
I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
Nathaniel Metzger asked, "Hey Matt, do you have any advice on drawing humans? That's something I struggle with. You and a lot of other folks that are into kaiju drawing."
That is very true. Drawing humans is, in itself a challenge because, to quote another inspiration and mentor, Bill Stout, or William Stout, I should say, if you learn how to draw people, and it will make everything else easier because everybody knows what people look like. It's the uncanny valley effect. If you're kind of bad at drawing people, it sticks out more. And I definitely struggled with people for a long time. I think they're getting a little better. I think they've gotten quite a bit better. Part of one of the things that I got helped me get better at them was drawing my friends, because I'm sitting there just sweating bullets trying not to screw up their faces.
Godzilla guy, apparently some people know him, other folks are saying hi to him. Are you going to be at G-Fest? Maybe it's time to re-explain what we're doing here.
Yeah. Yes, we're going to be at G-Fest. We'll keep going until they kick us out. Basically. Let's see. So I'm doing some prefab artwork specifically for G-Fest because we can't sell any prints at G-Fest because all artwork needs to be like you can't sell anything mechanically. No mechanically reproduced stuff that is not doesn't have a license behind it. So one of the ways to kind of get around that is, you can do help me out here. My brain is short circuiting. But originals, you can sell originals. And that's
and on the spot work
and commissions and stuff. And we actually do have quite a bit of material that is licensed that we can sell.
Talk about the t-shirts.
I will have copies. I will have some of my Godzilla Evolved shirt from Ghost X Ghost.
Aren't those sold out?
Those are currently sold out. I think you might still be able to get some on Godzilla Store's official site. I'm not sure. I haven't checked it, but yes, I will have copies. I will have the Godzilla shirt. I'll have Godzilla Evolved shirts from Ghost X Ghost there. And thank you to Brock for providing those.
Martin Silva asked, when is IDW Godzilla versus Fenrir going to happen? Am I saying that right?
Fenrir. I don't. Yeah, I don't know what. I don't know what he's referencing. So
Well, let us know, Martin. I'll get back to you when I get to that answer again in the chat.
Fenrir. I mean, Fenrir is a Norse deity or a Norse a figure in Norse
Well, I think
mythology.
it was a silly comment, like, and hoping it would
Maybe.
happen because there's an XD, so
I don't know.
that's the case. So Kaiju X Jaeger. So Godzilla can have crossovers with Kong and MonsterVerse, and crossovers with Ultraman, Kamen Rider, and Evangelion and Shin Universe. But why is Gamera not getting any? I get the licensing, but come on. I agree.
It's purely licensing and just how they don't want to do it. There have been attempts at Godzilla Gamera crossovers in the past. In fact, Gamera was actually in the mobile game Godzilla Battle Line. I think he's still in it. I think you can still unlock him, and that was because the director of Gamera Rebirth on Netflix was the same director or one of the directors of the Godzilla Netflix anime trilogy. So they kind of allowed for the crossover to happen, kind of out of like professional courtesy, I think. Japan does that sometimes. Sometimes they'll just be like, "Well, we'll do this because these creators worked on this. This creator worked on the same thing, so we'll allow it."
Florgasteve asked, "What other mythical creatures could you see being Titans in the MonsterVerse?"
Well, it's interesting because that the Titans with those names tend to be like kind of nebulous as far as like whether or not they're actually based on the mythological creatures they're named after. Um, oh, well, there was apparently like a mermaid kaiju. Godzilla had killed it. And they had like a corpse of it, and it was in like a cut scene or something. Um, but I mean, there's definitely like I'm just trying to think. I'd like to see some monsters that aren't based on Greek or Roman mythology.
Yeah, some from like Africa or something.
Yeah, because they had at least one
Mexico.
They had one monster from Africa in the novelization, which was Mokili Mabembe.
Oh, yeah.
But it was inspired. It was specifically inspired by the Groot slang, which is an adjacent African cryptid mythological myth thing.
So Fantasy Kaiju asked, "What tools and stuff do you use to make art? Because I am trying to learn myself, and I just want some tips."
Well, right now, I'm using these Japanese zebra brush pens. These I get at These I can get at places like Kinokuniya, but you can also order them online. And I'm using these Copic markers to do grayscale work. So
what about your pencils?
And my pencils are kind of a random hodgepodge of just whatever I like. This is an old King promotional pencil from
Japan. So it's
Japan.
Just a standard pencil. It's not nothing like it's.
I think one I tend to favor is 2B.
Or not 2B.
I knew you were going to say that. And I'm going. As far as pencils go, Stadler makes a really good pencil. Stadler and I think Faber-Castell also make, but 2H, 4B is a little dense. But yeah, get like a pack of Stadler pencils and just experiment and see what looks good. I'm really trying to encourage people to do more practical, traditional artwork because with AI and everything, that's one thing that AI can't do. AI can't replicate traditional practical work, even though can be more time consuming depending on how you learned how to draw. I learned how to draw with pencils and inks, which means that yes.
Okay. Are you done? I was just waiting for you done for the next one.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. G Slayer 2000. Do you think if Toho were to try and give that expanded universe idea another go, how do you think they would go about it?
I mean, that's a good question. It's really kind of up to them. I mean, the smart thing to do would be to do, these kind of weird standalone monster movies like Mothra and I mean, honestly, it's really tough to consider because you know, a lot of those classic monster movies, the sort of monster on the loose movies, those just aren't really in vogue right now. You know, that's not really a lot of that has kind of become the realm of those, you know, like asylum films and stuff. The sort of that kind of classic monster on the loose um, format. Um, I think that their best bet is to just do a Godzilla, just to do a new series of Godzilla films. But yeah, like it would be nice to do like something. If a monster has a lot of narrative potential, like say Mothra, then yeah, I would say that would be something with that would be something that would be a good idea to make a movie out of.
All right. Billy asks, Matt, if you could have seen Akira Kurosawa directing any of the Godzilla films, which one would you have wanted him to helm?
I would have wanted him to do something completely unique, you know, something completely original. It seemed like a lot of the movies that he wanted to make that were kind of set in modern times were tended to be dramas. Um, and his samurai films were most of his action fare, if I remember correctly. I don't know if he did any Yakuza movies now that I think about it. But I don't know. Like you know, it's funny. I would say that the Godzilla movie with the most Kurosawa-esque plot is Godzilla's Revenge. Um, so I don't know. Maybe if he did something like Godzilla's Revenge, where it's like this very meta narrative, where it's like Godzilla is a fictional character in the movie, and it's mostly about the characters like living their lives, where Godzilla is just like this fictional character that still sort of has an impact on what's happening. I mean, that to me is really interesting.
Evening with Eve says, Hello, Matt. Hope you and Cassner are having a lovely day and happy Pride Month, Transgender Pride, which gives us another
Woo!
opening to.
I'm going to tell people about the print that I have. There it is. The Pride on Wings of Pride Mothra print that I did. This is the original, and it's you know it's Copic markers and brush pens and whatnot, with a little bit of sparkle.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and we've got copies of it on the at the store,
which I just linked in the chat.
Yep. And that's 20% of all those sales are gonna. It just fell behind the thing.
Oh, no.
I'll have to fish it out later.
20% of the proceeds.
Thank you. 20% of the proceeds are going to go to Equality Texas, which is a LGBTQ rights organization dedicated to basically fighting anti-LGBTQ legislation in Texas, because Texas lawmakers want to make life harder.
Exterminate. Just say it out loud.
They want to exterminate. Ultimately, the goal is to exterminate, but they want to do that legislation because not doing that would mean they'd have to do things like fix bridges, or fix our public school system, or fix infrastructure, or
Climate
fix our
change.
or our housing crisis. But why do your jobs when you can terrorize your citizenry instead? Mm-hmm. Anyway,
the Hispania asked, Matt, do you like the design of Godzilla the Ride?
Yeah, it's I mean, Godzilla the Ride, the version of Godzilla that's in Godzilla the Ride is very, very similar to the -1 design. Which I honestly, when I saw the -1 Godzilla design, I was a little bit let down, because I was like, oh, it does have some distinct differences. But yeah, I think the Ride Godzilla is cool. So yeah.
They also ask again, can you give me advice on how to draw Godzilla? So go through the different bits and say your techniques.
Maybe this is a good opportunity to transition to another piece, because I think I'm kind of done with this one.
Okay.
But like when it comes to drawing Godzilla, like the most, the most important thing I personally think is, it's whatever vibe of Godzilla you want to go for. That is like most important. Like, are you doing a cute Godzilla? Or are you doing like a cool, scary Godzilla? size, conveying size is often important, but everybody's different. Everybody has different aspects that they are drawn to when it comes to this stuff. So, uh, but as far as like literally drawing Godzilla, like with the scales and everything, I'll just use this as a kind of an example. Like what I'm doing here is kind of there we go. I just want to make sure people can see it. What I'm doing here is I'm kind of doing the gesture of a line when it comes to the scales, because the classic Godzilla tends to have this very rough bark-like hide, and you can sort of see all these little divots that are all going the same direction, and it's a very trying to get it it's a very uniform look to it. And I learned this by studying, this is by studying techniques by Shinji Nishikawa, who does, he's a classic Godzilla artist, and he's the artist that all Godzilla artists want to be when they grow up. So for me, it's a combination of like trying to make sure you have all this detail, but also trying to save yourself some time. So you try to keep your when it comes to the scales, trying to keep your brush strokes or your pen strokes a little more gestural, and also creating the illusion of three-dimensional space by spreading out your scales. The more highlight there is, more shadows, you probably want to bunch your scales up a little more, especially if you're starting to go around the body, if that makes sense.
Yep, three-dimensional.
Yeah.
Big Bad Shadow Man. Hey, Matt, with State of the Monsters, how do you come up with the names for your monsters? Because I'm working on my own kaiju project, and coming up with the names for monsters that sounds good is hard. That being said, it is easy for me to come up with punny names.
Well, with it's our first State of the Monsters question, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I think I'm going to call this one done.
Okay.
With State of the Monsters in particular, the monsters are all kind of Texas themed in some way. So that's usually a good starting point, is to try to. Yeah, well, that's if you're like, say, for example, you're naming your monsters with species names. You want to give them species names, so you give them kind of Latin sounding species names. Like one of the monsters is Vespertiliothrax. It had a genus or whatever the secondary word is. But Vespertiliothrax is a combination of one of the Latin names for bats, for the family, the bat family, and it was like a bat family, and then the thrax part comes from another Latin term, which I think means something horrible.
So basically, just do Latin words and it'll sound official, and then you can use your punny name.
Yeah, or if you're in a universe where the monsters have Japanese style names, all the kaiju, a lot of or most of the kaiju. Let me rephrase that. A lot of kaiju in Japanese franchises like Godzilla and Ultraman and Gamera and stuff, they have kind of punny names. Like Gamera's name was originally just Kame, which means turtle, and then Ra, which is just a common ending suffix, or an ending, just a thing you tack on to make something. No, it's not an honorific. It's just a thing that you add on to a name to make it sound more monstery. I've heard it compared to being called, like, it's the equivalent of calling something Zilla. But also kaiju names are written using katakana, which is an alphabet used for foreign words and sound effects. So they're big, broad strokes, and it's also they're also easier for children to write. So, and some monsters just, their names just mean, like Ebera is a really easy one because it literally is just shrimpra. Hedora, hedo is a word for sludge, or it's derived from the word for sludge, so it's sludgera. So, I know it kind of it removes some of the mystique.
All right. Sean Powell asks, will there be any follow-up to Rule Over Earth, or did it end?
So right now in Japan, we did the first volume of Godzilla Rulers of Earth, the Remonstered edition, which is sort of a slightly altered version of the original of Rulers of Earth. I went through and I actually did some edits to the art and kind of cleaned some things up, and then I actually did a bonus chapter that's an all new chapter for the Remonstered edition. Now, this is all Japanese only. I asked about possibly getting an American version of it.
Your kindergarten teacher's here.
Oh my gosh!
I just saw that pop up.
Miss Blitzer, hi.
Oh, to taught you about drawing?
Yeah, that's right. I remembered, like, my memory is incredibly fuzzy, but yeah, it's so funny to, like, now I'm like, my brain is like flitting back to kindergarten. Just this little,
so sweet.
just this little. I was about to say a little hellion. I was not a little hellion. I was definitely, like, I was a weird kid, but I was pretty well behaved. Just enthusiastic. That's so funny. Hi, Miss Blitzer.
Toku Society says, "Hey Matt, how's it going?"
Hi, Toku Society. It's nice to see a lot of friends.
And Henshin John asks, "Any advice for drawing environment/backgrounds? I do love environmental art, but I feel it's the weakest aspect of my art." Matt hates buildings and backgrounds. He hates them.
Well, they just get very tedious. I would say find ways to make it more interesting when it comes to doing backgrounds. Just find cool looking buildings, or find ways to make drawing them less tedious. Also, backgrounds, you might want to do a different line weight for backgrounds. For example, you don't want to be using the same pen thickness for a foreground character as the environment, because that kind of makes everything smushed together.
Man, I was gonna make an inappropriate joke with your kindergarten teacher here. I can't.
Really
would
appreciate if you didn't do that. Thank you for your restraint. Do you have like tape still?
No, I put it back where it belongs.
Oh wait, no, I have it over here.
That okay. I thought you meant my scotch.
I need a little tape to keep this guy. Yeah.
Fantasy Kaiju Geek 54 asks, if you were to direct a sequel to -1, what would you do?
If I were to do a sequel to, I wouldn't do it because I think that would either need to be Yamazaki or need to be somebody Japanese who has that cultural perspective. But I don't know, like, if I had any say in it, I would be like, put another monster in there, but also do something different, like do something a little weird. Like the ending of -1 has this cliffhanger kind of aspect to it that really does. It's something that I think Henshin John mentioned earlier, that kind of leaves the door open for some weird ideas that we haven't really seen before, not in Godzilla anyway. So I don't know, I think there's a lot of
kind of a follow-up to that from someone else. The Hispania asks, what would be your main idea if you were to direct your own Godzilla/Kaiju movie?
Well, y'all are probably going to see that when I finally get Godzilla. Sorry, not Godzilla. When I finally get State of the Monsters done, that's kind of an idea of, like, this is what Matt would do if he was doing a kaiju movie. As far as a Godzilla movie goes, that's much harder to say. I know what I'm gonna do. Yeah, as far as Godzilla goes, that's much harder. I'd have to, because I used to. Is it out of batteries? Nope. That's much harder to say. there is some stuff that I want to see that's like totally different. Like I want I want people to think outside of the box. Yeah.
And Greg Noman says, "Hey, Matt and Caston, love and miss you guys."
Aw. Hi, Greg. I need to get a Godzilla. There. I don't think.
WebFolks100 asks, "Love Space Godzilla comic. Only question about it was the kaiju at the very end. Was the original kaiju or a baby for the existing kaiju?"
It was kind of a stealth reference to an existing kaiju, but I kind of left things ambiguous because I wasn't sure what the rights were. So I left things kind of ambiguous. I've got Godzilla 55 here, and look at his doofy face.
Oh, he's got the fangs. It's like he went to a Walmart to the Halloween section and got one of those little fake vampire teeth.
Yeah, he does a little bit. He's got some gnarly looking teeth.
Another question from just Godzilla. So Godzilla asks you, from your comic series Godzilla Rulers of Earth, what was your favorite monster fight from it?
My favorite monster fight from Rulers of Earth. I really liked Godzilla using Anguirus like a flail and grabbing him by the tail and smacking. I can't remember if he hit Mechagodzilla or Mecha King Ghidorah with that, but that was really fun. And I really like doing the final battle because the final battle is so like, go get them, boys, kind of thing, where everybody is just, all the monsters are kind of charging at the end. That part was really fun to do.
Speaking of that series, was there anything else you wanted to say about the new part of the addition to the Rulers of Earth that's coming out?
Or
did you cover all of it? Your teacher showed up and kind of.
Yes, yeah. Miss Blitzer derailed me a little bit. It's okay. I would say I'm trying to remember what I had already said. I think in a nutshell, I was trying to see if I couldn't get it released in the States.
Yes, that was where you're
at. But unfortunately, because Rulers of Earth is currently still available from IDW, they don't have a lot of incentive to like do a completely new iteration of it. So I don't think we're gonna get the remastered edition is gonna get released in the States anytime soon, unfortunately. So right now, the only way you can really see the new content is to get the Japanese edition. And if you want to know what they say, just ask me and I'll tell you.
Henshin John asks, "How are both you and Caston feeling about Ultraman Rising?"
I think you guys are gonna like it, and I'm not gonna say anything else.
Oh, and your teacher said you were so great, so proud of you.
Aww. Thank you.
Sato Kuraku said, "Do you speak Japanese or just know a little bit of it?"
I know a little bit to get by. Like I know enough to basically like ask for the bathroom.
You can do a little better than that.
I can do a little better than that, but it is very funny because my friends who speak Japanese and who are like bilingual and stuff, they'll be hanging out with me over there and they'll hear the way I speak it and they'll be like, "Matt, I know you just kind of you definitely fall back a lot on just pronouncing stuff in Japanese," which I mean, thankfully does help because if you actually do pronounce stuff with a bit of a Japanese lilt, not in like a racist way, but in a just in a like if you're looking for milk, for example, you would literally say miruku because you're just replacing the R with an L and you're giving it a little more of a space between the letters. Because a lot of Japanese does not have consonants abut one another. That's very rare. So oftentimes it's safer just to opt for adding the space in. Like I was certain that Caston's name was going to be pronounced as Kasuton, but then I forgot that sta actually is an artifact in Japanese, spoken Japanese. So
guess how many people we have currently watching?
14.
No.
Okay.
Over 1,000.
Oh my Lanta. Well, hi everybody.
Rhinox
Rhinox Maximize. Go ahead.
asked, "Have you created your own monster, and have we seen it, and have you named it?"
That ties into what I was talking about earlier, which is State of the Monsters. Because State of the Monsters is actually all the different monsters that a bunch of different monsters that I've created. Kind of over the years, like it's stuff that I've been like, oh yeah, that would be a cool monster. And I never really had an outlet for it. But as far as Godzilla goes, I've actually created, or I've helped create at least 3 like original monsters that are just in the comics. I helped create the Trilopods. That was really a team effort. And then in Rulers of Earth, and then I helped, or rather, I created Singara and the baby in the Space Godzilla one shot.
All right, let's change from Godzilla to Gamera. Fireside asks, "What is your favorite Gamera movie?" And they're obviously UK because they misspelled favorite.
Misspelled?
They have the U in it.
Favorite. It's nothing wrong with that.
That was the joke. As Americans like, they misspelled it. Even though we're
they drive on the wrong side of the road and they got universal health care. Anyway.
Basically, yes.
So anyway, I have a really difficult time choosing between all the movies of the Gamera trilogy. I think they're all really strong movies and are kind of it's very difficult inherently to choose one because they all flow together so nicely. So yeah, I would say like the trilogy is my favorite Gamera movie. However, Gamera the Brave is also like, as a standalone Gamera movie, is also one of my favorites, just because it's just so good, and people don't give it the time of day because it's about children.
Mm-hmm. Great Crow says, "Hi Matt Frank, huge fan."
Oh, hi.
And then Corey Rex VA, "Would you ever want them to make an animated version of Rulers of Earth?" That'd be cool.
Oh, sure, that would be awesome. That's something that like fans have been kind of asking for a long time.
Share.
Yeah, no. If I was like a script consultant, that's how that would work. But I think that would be awesome. I don't know. Like it's really difficult nowadays to get like animated adaptations. Well, no, I guess it's not impossible. It would just, I don't know. I think that'd be really cool. I have no idea how that would work though.
Sean Postel asks, "Matt, I've made my own original kaiju and posted it. Would you mind telling me what you think?" So what are the ways that someone can show you their work and you can critique it?
They would probably have to DM me directly through like Instagram or let's see, Instagram or Twitter. You know, you can hit me up
or come to a
convention, and I can because right now I have no idea where your stuff is, so I'd have to you'd have to DM me via, like I said, via Instagram.
And also include, Matt, if you are looking for more reassurance or if you want an actual critique, which might thrash your soul. Not that Matt would be mean at all, but in order for a good critique to be useful to you, you have to kind of break down the art and point out the mistakes, point out the great stuff, and walk away from it learning as opposed to feeling like a failure. That is a hard thing to do. As me, I was also in art in college. And it was very difficult to be told this thing I put so much time and work in, this whole list of negative things, when the teacher's just trying to make me better.
Yeah, I think that there's, I definitely got both sides of the spectrum, so to speak, when I was in college. I got like teachers who were actively trying to help me, and then I got teachers who like just absolutely hated my guts. But you know that will happen sometimes. But just know, like, if I ever give you a critique, it
comes from a place
I'm
of love.
probably being too nice, but I will try my best to give you honest feedback, because it's important that it's important that other artists be honest with each other.
Awesome. Okay, Final Wars Production says,
Cool.
what is your opinion on Godzilla Final Wars, particularly the main kaiju, FW Goji, FW Gigan, Monster
Hmm.
X, and Kaiser Ghidorah?
Very silly. Tis a silly film. Tis very silly. And I think if you come at it from the perspective of everybody was just having a lot of fun making it, I think that's because a lot of Godzilla fans do not like that movie. And it's definitely not what I would call a good movie. But it is like, if like I said, if you come at it from the perspective of like we're all just kind of having fun, we're just kind of goofing around, I think that makes it a much more enjoyable experience. Because it is also kind of a comfort movie for me because it is so just like there's just so much weird stuff happening, but because it's also, like I said, not very good, I'm not sitting there like being like super engaged by it, and I just kind of vibe with it. As far as the monsters go, I think they're all I think that for the most part they're cool, but at the same time, I know that I don't believe they had an increased budget for the monster suits, even though they had to make so many more monsters. So as a result, like the monster suits, I think in some cases look kind of cheap. And that's really unfortunate because there is some cool stuff. Like the Anguirus is awesome, but I think the Final Wars King Caesar feels kind of cheap by comparison. Like he could have been, I think, a lot cooler. Um, he's got his charm. Everybody's got their charms.
All right, next up, the Ink Slicer. Hypothetically, if Rulers of Earth were to get an anime adaptation, are there any particular animation studios you'd like to see handle it?
Oh Jesus. It's hard to say because I'm not as up on American animation studios. I guess if it was an anime, one of the reasons why there's not very much there are not many kaiju TV shows and specifically kaiju anime is because kaiju are kind of expensive to animate. They're so like they have so many weird little details, and I mean that's one of the reasons why a lot of them are CGI, like Gamera Rebirth. One of the advantages of the monsters being CGI is it makes them easier to animate because you're not having to do new cells and new frames all the time. But I like the way Kaiju number 8 is doing its kaiju. They're doing a pretty good job of like mixing textures with like more simplified animated models. So I mean that's the first team that comes to mind, but you know there's there's always options. The team that of course Trigger, who did SSS Gridman, is also like an excellent studio for doing kaiju stuff. What's up?
Oh, nothing. I was just waiting for you to get done so I can go to the next question.
Yeah.
All right, Feral Warmonger. Hi, Matt. Just joining the stream now. What would you say is a Godzilla design you wish to see more in merchandise and other media?
Oh man, that's actually a really good question. I think like I'd like to one of the only things I still really collect, because I've massively trimmed back the amount of stuff I collect these days. Um, I got too much stuff, and if you see me at a convention, you'll see that I am selling a lot of my like impulse purchases and things like that. Um, but I mean, so some of the only Godzilla stuff I still collect are like the 6-inch Bandai style figures and stuff like that. I do want to see a Bandai Godzilla 98. I think that would be hilarious. I would
a better version of the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla.
I know you do not like
how much did you pay for
you
this?
do not like the Mondo Hanna-Barbera Godzilla.
Like, I like the idea of them trying to paint it to look like a cartoon, but man, it is too expensive. It was really expensive. I don't know. I already see, the thing is I already own a 6-inch representation of almost every version of Godzilla, so
I don't know, my cup runneth over.
Mhm.
Um, oh man, actually, one did pop into my head recently. I mean, I want them to do like Godzilla the series, like the 1998 Godzilla. I want toys of that.
Or what about toys from the comics? Like your Godzilla,
Wow, I
Beings of
did
Earth.
not even think about that. Yeah, sure, comic book Godzilla's. I'd be down for that.
You're like, oh god, my bank account's getting drained just thinking about it.
It's anxiety inducing.
Next question. Expert Julian looked up 2024's G Fest lineup and saw you were in it. I hope to be able to see you at G Fest this year. Are you going to be there all 3 days, and will you have prints to sell? So now you can explain why we're here today.
So first of all, thank you. I'm very excited to. We're always excited to do G Fest. The fandom is wonderful. And it's wonderful to see everybody. It's kind of like I remember Cassidy, you even said it was kind of like a family reunion or a class reunion last year. I thought that was really funny. Unfortunately, we are not able to sell prints at G Fest because they have a policy of basically no mechanically reproduced fan art. But I can sell originals and commissions and stuff. So I have, but that's what I'm doing here. I'm just prefabbing a bunch of originals to sell at my table at G Fest. But we will have other stuff. We will have T-shirts. We'll have my Godzilla Evolved shirt. I've got a box of them set aside just for G Fest. I will have some posters. I have some copies of my Baragon artwork for Ghost X Ghost that are these really cool poster version, just really cool posters that are also like they look really cool under black light and stuff. I'll definitely have stuff, and also have some stuff from my personal collection too. So definitely going to be stuff available. Yep.
Next up, Edie the One. Weird question, but I was having a debate with my friends about this. Would you consider the new Ultraman Rising movie anime?
So the whole anime debate is very weird because hold on, I gotta fix this tape situation back here. Man, hey, what are you doing?
Who's being naughty?
Who's being naughty?
Okay. Take the fuck off.
So cats are doing stuff. I think somebody was razzling.
Yeah, it was Romulus.
Of course, it was Romulus. Anyway, I got completely derailed. What?
Is Ultraman anime?
I would say if you really wanted to be technical about it, I wouldn't say it's necessarily anime because, okay, so in Japan, all cartoons, all animation is anime. Like they refer to it's just anime is just the word for animation, similar to how cosplay is just the word for like dressing up, especially at conventions and stuff. Whereas in the States, anime comes to specifically refer to like Japanese animation or anime or animation like in that style. I wouldn't necessarily call it, strictly speaking, anime. I think that Netflix likes to use anime just as like a marketing term.
And they can put it in the anime category and get a whole different line of folks.
I mean, it definitely is like it's a Japanese character, and there is a lot of like Japanese and Asian American talent behind the scenes. Apparently, the majority of the voice cast is of Asian descent, which I think is very cool. Hey.
They're just wrestling.
Well, Remus wants him to leave him. Wants Romulus to leave him.
He's a puffy boy.
Yeah, he's all poofed up.
Come here, buddy.
Yeah, you have when we hang out in my office for extended periods of times, the cats get antsy because we're in a new place that they aren't normally allowed. So yeah.
All right, next up.
I would say it doesn't really matter that it be considered anime or not. That's my opinion. Hey!
Romulus!
Yeah, a little butt munch. Romulus wants to play, and he plays too rough. He's really kind of mean to his brother.
Okay, next up, Noah Bearden. Hi, Matt. This is Noah. Been meaning to ask, where did you find the inspiration for your short story you developed in the Shadow of a God?
Oh, that's a good question. You can actually hear a lot about my inspiration for that story on the episode I did of Growing Up with Godzilla with Donnie, who did the poetry for that short story. Um, that story, that idea, kind of, I'm trying to remember. It was a couple of different. It was a couple of different ideas I had floating around in my head because I wanted something that really zeroed in on. Um, the original like Godzilla 54 and that setting. Um, but I wanted something that was also very like simple and very like locked in on on like one story because you only have 10 pages to work with. And um I think if I remember correctly, Cass, I think you kind of helped inspire it because you really liked that -1 artwork that I did with
Yes.
the little girl.
Well, it was before we saw the movie, and all we had was the preview, and we thought, everything else is kind of in drab colors, and this little girl is in bright red.
Right.
And we're like, oh, this must be an important character, and she wasn't anything at all in
She
the.
was just a person in a crowd scene, but
But you took that
but
and you made her somebody.
well, yeah, like that idea of like this little girl, and then I love trilobites. I have a strong affinity for trilobites, and I remembered it was so cool that there was a trilobite in the original Godzilla, this thing in Godzilla's footprint, and it was the thing that like Dr. Yamane uses to determine how old Godzilla is. Um, even though they got the date wrong, they were like, "Oh yes, 2 million years ago is when dinosaurs roamed the earth." And it's like that's not even like, especially for trilobites, you're way off. Yeah, it just this idea. I mean, it's so difficult to kind of track exactly where my ideas come from, especially like because I got a brain full of bees. So
The ideas come from ADHD. That's
yeah,
that's
that's well, I just like I said, I wanted like an 54 with the like something with the 50 using 54 as a setting, and I was heavily inspired by the one shot Godzilla King of the Monsters special from I think 1987, 1989 from Dark Horse that was illustrated by Steve Bissette. And I actually got a blessing from Mr. Bissette to make an overt reference to his 2-page spread, like that 2-page spread, the Shadow of the God that's in the comic, and I also made a printout of. That is a direct reference to his artwork in that original comic, and just that idea of like telling the 1954 story but from a completely different perspective was really interesting to me, and I just kind of locked in on that. And then I know I didn't want traditional narration because I am not the biggest fan of non-diegetic narration. So I asked, or rather, Caston made the suggestion of asking Donnie to do some poetry. I'm definitely giving you guys the short version, but yeah.
And if you would like a print of that he was just talking about, I just shared the link to it in the chat. The one I shared is the big one. It's a glossy. It's the 16 by 20, and it's a giant photo. The colors in it are amazing. Like,
it's so funny you say the
good.
colors in it,
Oh,
and it's a grayscale.
But gray is
kind of
color. It's a
ink.
color. It's a color.
Yeah, yeah.
Compared to, we also have the original 11 by 17 80-pound cardstock available too. You can find it in the store, but this one goes directly to the 16 by 20, which I don't know if we're going to order more of, and there's only a few
Yeah,
left.
there's only a couple left, and it was just kind of a pain to get it made, and they're kind of a pain to ship because we're not, I'm a little worried about how the signatures are going to come out on that.
A little smudgy.
Yeah.
It takes a while to dry.
Well, it's not that it takes a while to dry. It's just that's glossy, and I mean, maybe I'm not even using the right kind of pen. Like maybe it reacts poorly to those silver Sharpies I've been using. So I don't know, but it's still a cool poster, and you should get it.
Next up, Hinshin John. Which Toho kaiju would you think would work well in a solo kaiju film that hasn't already had one already?
Oh, hasn't already had one. That is actually a good question. Anguirus would be a very interesting choice because he's always kind of a second banana. I actually made a comic about that. That was the first ever Godzilla comic that I did the interiors for. Was Godzilla Legends issue 1 called The Underdog, and it was about Anguirus. It was an idea that my writer and friend Jeff Prezenkowski came up with for Anguirus basically being on his own, fighting a really powerful kaiju, specifically Destroya. And you know, I really like how that comic came out. I thought it was fun. But yeah, like doing a story about Anguirus being this little scrappy dude. But then you have to have like an established history of the character, and so it's just
You're overthinking it.
well, I mean, you kind of have to.
Well, you can give them one. They can do a flashback or something.
Yeah.
Sean said when we were talking earlier about getting the IDW comics into animated series,
Mhm.
they said that they have a petition going for that.
Oh, okay.
Share your link, buddy.
Well, I appreciate that's very kind of you. I appreciate that. I truly I you know, I have not seen very many petitions get a lot of traction, unfortunately, but the fact that somebody
the right petition at the right time with the right names and the right number can make a difference. But lining up all of those things is difficult. Doesn't mean don't try.
That is very true. Thank you.
Florga Steve, I'd buy a Trilopod figure within a heartbeat. We were talking earlier about, which of the toys you like to see.
Yeah, I think that would be very cool to see like a proper Trilopod figure be made.
Next up, Ian Green. Do you think newer Godzilla films need to bring back Godzilla's affinity for flares? What do you mean by flares?
Oh,
is that the stupid flying thing?
No.
Where he shoots his stuff
You
down?
were so incensed when you found out about that.
The physics are wrong, and it wouldn't work, and it's silly unless they did the what was the cartoon series called?
Singular Point.
Singular Point version where most of his weight exists in another dimension, so the jets from his hand could actually do it. Plus, they were pointed the wrong way. They weren't pointed down. They were pointed at an angle, but he went up. Go. And so the question is, should you bring back the flares?
You know what you're doing, Keston?
What?
You're thinking about it. You know what you have to do? Don't think about it. Stop thinking about it. Anyway, so what in the hell was the... Oh, yeah, flares. Well, the idea was that... in the original, it was stated in the original movie and in Godzilla Raids Again, which is what I'm basing this artwork off of. Godzilla was being a deep sea creature. He didn't like bright lights, and Dr. Yamane theorized that Godzilla would associate bright lights with the atomic bomb that woke him up and mutated him with atomic testing, and that he would instinctively go towards those lights. Either because he thought it was food or he thought
those kind of flares. Okay,
yes, like military flares.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Lots of flame.
The 55 Godzilla is so weird. It's such a weird looking Godzilla.
Speaking of, Easterly Art was like, man, the stipple on the lip, loving it. When you were doing the stippling.
Oh, thank you.
The art style.
Yeah. I was like, what? Change.
We're starting to catch up on the chat finally.
Okay, good.
The Ink Slicer, Matt. All I want to say is you've been one of my biggest heroes since childhood. Browsing Deviant with your old Godzilla Neo art being a big motivator to me. I'll be 28 next month.
Oh man, that makes me feel incredibly old.
There's not even a 10-year age difference there.
But that is it's actually almost exactly 10 years.
But you're 37.
I'm 38.
When did that happen?
When I turned 38. Am I 38?
I thought you turned 37 last year.
No, I think
I think COVID just messes up time.
Yeah, hold on. I'll do some quick math because it was 85. It was December 85
to 95 to 2005 to 2015 to 2025 would make you 40. So so next year, okay.
Yeah.
Guess so.
Yeah, the cold hand of time.
So then.
The cold hand of
Which
time.
Which means technically next year you're turning 40.
I don't like it. don't want to.
Book it quiet.
I don't want to go.
That ride is not for me.
Anyway, but thank you. That's so kind of. Who was the one who said that? Was that
Ink
Slicer? That's very kind of you to say. It always means a lot whenever people come up to me and are like, "Oh man, I used to follow you back when you were doing Godzilla and Neo," and I'm like, "Oh, you're just a little whippersnapper." Yeah.
Kind of same vein
Mm-hmm.
from Kyle Neverseen. Hey Matt, huge fan, and you're my inspiration. Your artwork wouldn't be here if I continue my. Your artwork wouldn't be here if I continue my life as an artist. So many questions. As will you set up an art class of your own in the future?
Well, first of all, thank you. That's very sweet. As far as like art classes go, I mean, this is kind of I think this is kind of the closest we're gonna get.
I mean, we might do one where it's more, less doing chat stuff and you
going
through
and I'm just doing
teaching a thing and like this is how I do this. This is the pen I'm using. This is why I'm using this pen over the other pen. This is what the other pen would look like.
Doing like little exercises with folks, like
this is how you do Godzilla scales for X Godzilla.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that would be fun. It's just a matter of timing. It's a matter of setting everything up. So.
And Webfox says, I'm going to be 40 this year. Vomit emoji.
Oh, hey, Caston's over 40.
I am over 40. I am several years older than Matt because I was born 4 years before him.
Lordy, I'm 40.
So I guess I'll be 43 this year. Wait, am I 42 now? That means I'm the answer to everything. That means everything I say has to be correct.
This is true.
Gosh, we're almost at 1,200.
Oh, my Lanta. I thought it was... Oh, yeah. Okay. That is... That's a lot, folks. It's a weird feeling.
Oh, and E-Roll M says, I'm 31 today.
Happy birthday, Errol Flynn.
No, Errol I am.
Errol M.
I can't tell if it's like 2 capital L's or...
It's probably... I think that's how you spell Errol, with 2 L's. I think.
God, Errol first name and last name. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. We've actually caught up with the chat. That never happened. We're just cooking.
Happens. We're cooking along. Well, folks are also like kind of settling.
Oh, you were on his podcast a while back.
Oh, awesome. Oh, awesome. Okay,
he has to connect the dots in his brain.
Yeah, I'm on a lot of podcasts, man, or person. I can't. You'll have to tell me the name of it.
Yeah, what was the name of your podcast?
Yeah,
I usually set all that up.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I've got a couple other folks who are waiting to hear back from me on podcasts, and I'm just like, I'm doing stuff.
So if you're in the stream and have asked about a podcast, we have received your request, and
we'll get to it when we get to it. It's just
we're the podcast from Japan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, in from Japan. Yeah. He's the Yes. No, okay. It was a different one. Okay, it's a different one I was thinking of. Well, that's very cool. I think I do remember this one. So
oh my god. We just saw the back of your head.
Oh, just like God, that's terrifying.
At least you know you're not going bald.
Yeah. Look at this dense hair.
Archie, Sonic the Hedgehog. Hey, Matt, if you were ever to make a sequel to the Shin Godzilla, should the movie be more disturbing and creepy than it already was the first movie and explore more of his evolution?
Yeah, I think you should. A Shin Godzilla sequel should get weird, and I think it should have the weird little Godzillas coming off of his tail and taking over the world or something. I don't know. There's that kind of would make it a bit of a weird zombie apocalypse Attack on Titan situation. Well, I mean, I personally like to think that Shin Godzilla is just in the same universe as Evangelion. So
I want to see Pinky in the Brain take on Godzilla.
There were so many Godzilla references in the old Animaniacs and Pinky in the Brain and stuff. Yeah, they even had a Raymond Burr caricature introducing a movie or something. Yeah, they've had quite a few. I need to get my little half glove on so that I can.
Do you know where it's at?
It's in my
Oh, you
hand.
already have it. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And why do you wear this glove? Is your hand hurting you, Matt?
No, this is so I don't smear anything.
I know.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, I was being the audience for you.
I have had people, who don't know what it is, like react like, because they're just like, oh, did you hurt your hand? Because it kind of resembles like a hand brace. But no, it's just for preventing smearage.
Where was that? From Florga Steve. Trying to create a villain monster for my series.
Mhm.
Just drooling ideas for specific doodling ideas for specific body parts, but going with a Pantheon experiment gone wrong, and then unleashed on the universe through a killer supernova.
Jesus. That sounds pretty interesting.
Well, technically, like, unless that monster, okay, I'm an astrophysics nerd here.
It's fine.
Unless that monster is somehow stronger than the elements on the periodic table, the supernova itself would kill it.
Like, yeah, supernova is so powerful that
only a gamma ray burst from a monster black hole in the middle of a galaxy is stronger than some of the supernovas.
I mean, it sounds like
it needs to be made of unobtainium or something.
What Florgy Steve is describing sounds like
sounds cool.
Well, it sounds like a god. It sounds like something with a god tier powers. It sounds like something more eldritch than necessarily like
I know. I'm just a
No, I know.
My flavor of the spectrum is physics matter.
It's fine. I mean, I consulted you while working on Space Godzilla, so.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Did I get a credit in the book?
I think you have a little thanks in it.
Ah.
Yeah.
Awesome. You know what? You never gave me a copy. I don't think I have my own copy of it.
We have like 100 of them.
No, I mean, for
like
me,
a signed one.
Yeah, to cast it.
Okay.
Thanks for mathing, science, and stuff.
All right, that's fair. I didn't know you would have cared enough. So, it's not that you didn't care. It's just like you're. I'll get you one. Stop talking, Matt.
Oh, going back to the Pinky and the Brain thing.
It's like dig up, stupid.
Florida C said the episode Tokyo Grows was a reference to Godzilla movies where they made Pinky and the Brain giant.
Okay, that must have been the one with the Raymond Burr introduction, I think. Yeah. There was an episode of a show. I think it was made by some of the same animation teams and stuff, because it was also in like the Warner Brothers catalog. It was the Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries, which is a very basically Granny, who was the one who kind of always owned Tweebird. Mm-hmm. Granny would go around and was
with her belt under her tits. I mean, that's
short.
How it was.
Yeah, she was a detective, like an amateur detective, and which was fun seeing Granny like doing stuff like that. But and of course Tweety Bird and Sylvester would get in all kinds of shenanigans. But there's an episode that takes place in Tokyo, and Granny goes to visit her like a nephew or something, and he's a kaiju fan, and he has a bunch of kaiju references in his apartment. And it was really cool because you're like, I remember going through it and like going through it frame by frame and being like, that's like a Baltan Seijin, and that's a King Ghidorah, and this was like the mid 90s or something, or like the late 90s. Very weird. It was cool. That was fun.
Next up.
Mm-hmm.
Big Bad Shadow Man. Is it bad that the only sequel idea I would accept for Shin Godzilla is the humanoid Godzilla things getting free, putting on suits, and suing humanity for the emotional distress caused to Godzilla by unknowingly making him? Man, that's like that kid that sued their parents for their birth.
Oh man, yeah, I think I heard.
Won?
God, that's friggin' funny. I think that's a friggin' hilarious idea. Like, we'll destroy you with legislation and legal bills. It would be really funny.
Next up, the Ink Slicer
Yay,
asks,
Slicer.
how do you land your first art job? I'm trying to wrap my head around how to escape the 9 to 5. You will work less than you do as an artist. I will throw that in there before I finish your question, especially since I feel like the years are escaping me, unfortunately.
Let me be clear about something. It is never too late.
Never.
It is never too late. One of my favorite examples is the manga artist who created Shaman King. He didn't get started on his manga career until he was well into his adult life. I believe he was in his late 30s or sometime into his 40s. He already had like a wife and kids and stuff, and he quit his job to go make manga. And on top of that, there's guys like my buddy Hiroshi Kanatani, who's also like he put his career on hold to go do other stuff, and he like got married, had a kid, and then like he's now kind of getting his career restarted, and he is in Los Angeles at Monsterpalooza, unlike me. um Let me think. But as far as like, make sure, um, the 9 to 5, like Caston said, you will never work harder than like being an artist is just like. But I know that everybody has like a different definition of that. Like, what we would consider like the 9 to 5 is, it's called a grind for a reason. It's not like super fun if you're just working like a corporate job or something that's not creatively fulfilling. However, like I was getting art jobs when I was still in college, and the way it kind of worked for me was mine was definitely a situation of luck equals is when preparation meets opportunity. And I just happen to be like one of the artists kind of getting in on the ground floor over at DeviantArt. And I was also one of the very few people doggedly refusing to do anything but draw Godzilla fan art. I mean, I did other stuff too, but and that resulted in me starting to get little art jobs kind of trickling in, but nothing that was enough for me to really, truly live off of. It wasn't until 2 years out of college in 2010 when I was able to do art full time, and that was because I was working for IDW. I started by working for IDW on some Godzilla, like official Godzilla stuff, and that meant that my name started getting out there, and I started actually getting more reliable art gigs.
But I would, in case folks don't know what the life is of a contract artist.
Mm-hmm.
You never know where your checks are going to come from.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay your own insurance.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get any other benefits at all. You're going to work average 12 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get vacations unless you plan them in advance,
mm-hmm.
because art jobs are lined up months in advance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not you're sitting around waiting for an art job. Like when people send me emails asking for Matt to work on an art project with them, like, oh, what's your due date look like? They're like, oh, sometime next month. I'm like, man, we schedule stuff 4 to 6 months in advance. Like, that's just not possible. If it's, like a cover or something, we can squeeze it in.
Yeah.
However, that's going to be a 50% upcharge. But life as an artist, you really, really have to be somewhere on the spectrum as far as your obsession with being an artist. Like,
yeah, it has to be borderline a mental illness.
It does. But your only other option is to work for like a video game studio or in the movie industry. But as we've seen lately with AI issues, a lot of jobs are being laid off because of AI. So if you're going to do it on your own, just know it's going to be hard. It's going to be stressful, and you can never relax and like, oh yeah, I got a check coming from the company in the mail. Like it's.
I mean, you do have to like find a good work-life balance, which is extremely hard to do,
and
especially
it's my
working
job.
from that. I'm fortunate I have a cat. casting. So, and not everyone gets.
Find yourself a casting, even though I charge 30% of whatever the profits are. I have made him more money than he has to pay me. Like, I pay myself, because having someone do the business side of everything, like, if you want to be a professional artist and do contract work, you also have to know business. If you don't know business, you're going to undercharge, or you're not going to be good with scheduling or something like that. And it's just going to cause more stress.
And it sucks because those are all the things that artists don't want to do.
It shouldn't have to do. I hate capitalism.
But there are yeah, it's terrible. And I terrible and I hate it. There are resources online for getting organized. And because I remember how I kind of, the first wave of me kind of getting my shit together was when I had to move back in with my parents for a little bit back in early 2010, and I basically had to make myself into a workaholic in order to be able to afford to move back out, and just really and it has, like, it's paid tremendous dividends, but it's also, like,
being famous doesn't mean you make money. Like, that in itself, like, like, things like, oh, you were in a movie, or you were in a TV show, or, oh, your art's on this cover. That does not mean you're rolling in money. We're poor like everybody else.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just because Casson has been making me more money, it doesn't mean I'm like, we're not like rolling in it. I'm like, there are some months where I'm just like, oh Christ, oh Christ, oh Christ, oh Christ, oh Christ.
And when you're in your 30s, almost 40s, that is not something you want to do. That is something a 20-year-old person worries about. But it's something you would have to keep up the rest of your life if you really want to go into art. So I'm not trying to say don't do it. I'm just saying that if you hear all of this and still want to, then maybe you do have that obsession, and maybe it's the right place for you.
I remember a friend of mine who is also a professional artist used to say his advice to younger artists was always, industry's full. And but I mean, art, people are going to make art regardless of where things are at with AI and all that, because, like, it just, I will say though, art jobs are going to get harder to find. There's nothing to stop that from happening. There's not enough political or social motivation to really truly regulate AI in a way that is substantial. Not to say we shouldn't try.
Okay, can we move on to the next thing?
Sorry, we can move on.
Okay, so Master Kaiju says, what do you think of a kaiju story where the size scale is more on the King Kong 1933 scale range?
I mean, I think that's a fine idea. I've seen stuff.
Like, are there Godzillas that are that size? Like, I know they vary
in
size.
A great example is stuff like Ultra Q, which is the was the TV show that came before the original Ultraman, and it really was like, the monsters weren't like truly massive. They were a little more, like, big animal size. In fact, I'm trying to remember. So the monsters had a little more of they were a little. It was a little more believable that they were just kind of coming out of the woodwork. In fact, I think in the original Frankenstein Conquers the World and War of the Gargantuas, the monsters are a little closer to a King Kong size. And that means that the miniatures are much more detailed. Actually, Rampage is a good example. The one with The Rock. That's a good example of, like, the monsters are slightly more King Kong sized, and it makes for a little more of a intimate and, more directly perilous narrative.
All right, next up, Archie Sonic the Hedgehog. You're dropping stuff. Hey, Matt, I wanted to know about your thoughts on the whole DC Comics iteration of Godzilla fighting Superman and ending up winning in the first fight.
Godzilla winning in the first fight.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of funny that, like, Superman went down in the first round, even though they don't really clarify, like, why, because we don't really, we don't really know exactly how powerful Godzilla's atomic breath is. At least not, that version. Um, I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool seeing those characters together. But one of the inherent problems with crossovers like that is like the initial like kind of glee of the of the event itself sort of wears off kind of quickly. There was some cool stuff that happened in that comic, but then kind of by the end of it, I felt like it kind of petered out, which is unfortunate.
Next up, from Made of Scars, which is a great name because scar tissue is some of the strongest tissue in the body, stronger than what it replaces originally. It's a sad name, but it implies strength. I don't know if you remember my son Gabe. We would visit you when you were at the Heroes and Fantasies. Sadly, we missed your most recent visit there, but we have a ton of your artwork and comics that you signed for him.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm sure if you guys came to... Hold on. Oh, sorry, I've got to pop my neck. I'm sure if y'all came to one of my other signings, I'm sure I would recognize you guys. So that
faces are easier than names.
Faces are so much easier than names. Although Gabe does ring a bell.
I think Tycho and Gabe when I hear Gabe.
You think of Penny Arcade?
Yeah, I think of Penny Arcade.
Oh man. So I would say come to a signing. It'd be lovely to see you guys again.
And Godzilla Dom 54 said hello and nice 54 art.
Thank you. Well, this is 55.
Right. Yeah, the 54 was the previous one. I'm not that behind on chat. And Ian Green asks, do you think Karen Fukuhara could play a good modern Miki Segusa? Is that how you say it? Segusa?
Karen Fukuhara. I'm not familiar with that actress.
I can Google
if you want to look her up, yeah.
Karen Fukuhara. Here we go. She's an American actress.
Oh,
I've seen her in shows.
Yeah.
Shows.
Okay. Oh, okay. She's. I recognize her now. She's in Suicide Squad. She's. I mean, maybe. I mean, I like that a lot of American Godzilla media is.
What's that?
What?
I don't know. Something smells.
It might be the markers.
It
could also be my breath because I've been drinking a lot of soda.
It smells like a paint pen of some sort.
It's probably the markers.
I just got a big old whiff.
I can't recall what I've specifically seen her in, other than Suicide Squad, and that's not exactly anybody's like shining moment. So, I mean, I like that. I like that. Like I said, more American Godzilla media is actually hiring more Japanese American and Asian American talent. So,
Godzilla Dom says, "Wow, you got a little vacuum. I want one." What's the story behind the vacuum?
So the vacuum is probably my favorite gift that Cassie never got for me.
I'm a problem solver.
Yeah. So, in my previous house. When I was getting ready to move out, I moved my desk away from the wall, and I had so many eraser shavings that they had like fused with the carpet.
It was just this dark line.
It was very gross.
And Matt was talking about, and he would always just kind of brush them off the table onto the. Okay, he's not the only artist in the world. Other people have this issue. Let's see what exists. And I Googled it and I found on Amazon this little, I think it was like $15. It's really cheap. These little vacuums, and they're used for both artists and people who bake to clean up flour off the countertops.
Yeah, it's extremely cool. I love using it. Which is why sometimes when I can't find it, I have a mini panic attack because I'm like, did I leave it somewhere?
When we came in earlier to get started, he's like, well, I kind of need my vacuum, but it's lost. And I'm like, it's right here. It was literally on his desk, but his water bottle was on top of it.
I was using it as a water bottle coaster.
So it didn't exist. You couldn't see it.
Yeah, that's that ADHD brain.
Slayer has got to get going,
Mm.
but wanted to say thank you for being a big inspiration for me. I've loved your artwork for a long time and think you're just a really cool dude.
Oh, well, thank you, G Slayer. It's very kind of you to say. I really appreciate that. I don't know what else to say other than thank you. Yeah.
We had another G Fest question. Are you going this year? So it's time to
Do
what
the
are we
spiel
doing
again. So I'm actually doing these sketches as prefab artwork for G Fest. Unfortunately, we cannot sell prints at G Fest, which massively cuts into our profits. So I have to do prefab artwork to kind of make up a little bit of the lost revenue. But that means I get to do stuff like live streams.
But yeah, it also means though that there's not, cheap art you can buy.
Well, we will have comics.
No, but I mean,
like we won't have like, unfortunately we won't have prints. We'll have posters, but those posters aren't necessarily going to be like super inexpensive.
No. They're not gonna be cheap, but
yeah. So yeah, I will, but we will be there at G Fest, and we are looking forward to it.
Next up is Henshin John. What's a tokusatsu crossover you would like to see that's not Godzilla and Gamera? Also, TGE crossover doesn't have to be with another Toku. Oh, also the crossover doesn't have to be with another Toku series.
It's not Godzilla or Gamera. I don't know. You just plug Mothra into stuff. That would be cool.
I think Mothra would fit really well into like the He-Man She-Ra universe.
Ha! That would be awesome. Oh man, that would be so cool. Yeah, I think that would be hilarious and cool. I'm trying to think of some other stuff. And trying to think of some other I want to see.
You just did a Reading Rainbow crossover with that Mothra.
If I could reach it, I would show it.
Let me see
I'd have to. I mean, if you want to try,
where's it at?
It's down there.
Okay.
Good luck.
Oh, that's right. You have the.
I might be able to get it. Hold on. Yeah, I see it. It. I got it. There we go.
Oh, that was his head hitting the table.
I'm good. Yeah. Oh, collected a little hair while I was down there. But yeah, I did the. Why am I bringing this up? Am I just plugging?
Crossover because you did Reading.
Oh yeah, so it kind of has a bit of a Reading Rainbow vibe. I definitely referenced the old Reading Rainbow artwork when I was the old like poster art and animation art while I was doing this. So it was a lot of fun. But anyway, we're selling copies of this artwork to celebrate Pride this month, and throughout the month of June, if you buy a copy of this, and Cassie just posted it in the chat. 20% of the sales will be going to Equality Texas, which is a charity that basically is fighting for legal rights and protections of LGBTQ citizens of Texas.
I kind of want it. Like I love rainbow. My bangs are rainbow. If you've never seen me, I have purple hair with rainbow bangs.
It's definitely cast in style.
Rainbow is my favorite color.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like my rainbow with pink instead of red, like a deep pink, not like a Barbie pink. No offense to Barbie, I just don't like bubblegum pink. But I just see it as so pretty.
Well, I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, go buy one, and if you can get it, like it'll be after we get back from Hawaii. Yay.
Yeah.
Hawaii.
Yeah, we're going to Hawaii in
Wednesday.
Like 2 days.
2 days. We need that.
I need to cram a bunch of stuff in before we leave.
Next up, Archie Sonic the Hedgehog. So since you've been drawing Godzilla for a very long time, what Godzilla was the easiest to draw and what Godzilla is the hardest?
I mean, the Godzillas I drew as a kid were the easiest. That's Godzilla's like the Heisei Godzilla, and the Millennium Godzilla was coming out when I was a kid too, so I got really good at drawing that one. And of course, Godzilla, the Kiryu Goji from 2002 and 2003 were the ones. That was the one I used for Rulers of Earth, so I got really good at drawing that one. But yeah, I'd say but I definitely grew up drawing the Heisei one a lot.
Big Bad Shadow Man.
Hey.
Given how most of the Ultraman series at their core is a monster of the week style show, was there an episode premise that you wish they would have spent more time fleshing out?
Oh, Jesus. There's so many of them. Like, uh, I mean, Ultraman, it's like anything else. It's got its bangers and it's got its stinkers. Um, I don't know. I think a lot of the plots they did were perfect little bite-sized stories. Um, I do wish that the story with Gomorrah wasn't so inherently sad, since they literally just like found Gomorrah in a mountain on an island somewhere, and instead of leaving him there, they decided
You drew a butt.
oh my god.
You'd
I
have to be
cannot
at the crack.
take you anywhere. Don't derail me. Like they found, instead of just leaving him there, they were like, oh, let's move this giant dangerous monster over mainland Japan. Oops, he fell, and then woke up and then went in an immediate rampage. So
let me rephrase the question a little. Just is there any of the monsters you would like to see a part 2 of, to see where they are now? I kind of wanted to know more of the Ella King story.
Oh yeah, Ella King is a monster I feel like they could definitely flesh out, and they have done episodes about Ella King in the past.
I haven't seen a whole lot of Ultraman.
Well,
but that was one episode I saw where I really jived with the monster and really wanted to know what happened. Like,
Well, it's from this particular planet, and it's like it was kind of raised as like a weapon for extraplanetary conquering. But then by the episode you saw, it was like, oh, this is kind of a pet.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to kind of see like Ella King's, like what is the day in the life of an Ella King.
Next up is Archie, Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm going to skip the first part because, yes, he has seen Pacific Rim. Would you be cool to see a movie where Godzilla and Pacific Rim did a crossover and Godzilla fights different Jaegers and Kaijus? I'm guessing that's how that's pronounced. Jaegers.
Well, I mean, damn it.
Oh god. Oh god.
I'm trying to find a particular marker.
Can I hold something
for
you?
Absolutely not. Found it. Okay, so thank you. Well, the thing is like when it comes to Pacific Rim, part of the kind of the problem is that, what people want is they want the Jaegers to fight Godzilla and stuff. But I guess it's just, I think the crossover itself is inherently kind of weird because all of the Jaegers keep getting destroyed. And like by the end of each movie, all of the Jaegers have been, whatever Jaegers were in it have been destroyed. So you just keep making the same kinds of Jaegers for Godzilla and the other monsters to fight. Like, I mean, I definitely get like the inclination of like, I want to see Godzilla fight giant robots and stuff. And I mean, there's narrative potential, you could have a portal open and you could have like the characters having to wrestle with the idea of like a kaiju that's not been sent by the precursors. It's like a quote, not a quote unquote good kaiju, but if you're doing like the legendary Godzilla, you could be like, oh, he's not like necessarily an evil monster, or we could find a way to like team up with him kind of thing. So, I mean, I see it. I see the potential, I guess. It's just, when that was first floated, I remember thinking like, oh, the Jaegers got destroyed. Like, but whatever. That's all I got.
Yep, we're caught up in chat. So I'm guessing like if you want to finish this one and call it on the stream.
Yeah, I think we might kind of.
It's been almost 2.5 hours.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'd like
average, one every hour and 15 minutes.
I'd like to take a break and maybe play some Dave the Diver.
Oh yeah.
And we're not quite to the Godzilla DLC yet, but
that's the whole reason he got it.
Well, yeah. but it actually is a really good game, and it's very well made and well put together. There's some stuff in there where I'm just like, you guys didn't have to put that in there. I'm not playing that.
Yeah, like the seahorse racing.
Seahorse racing, I was
That was
like,
a little-
what? Why do I mean, maybe you'll need to earn more money in the future for the sea people so you can buy stuff from them. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, but it is still a really good game, and it looks like the Godzilla DLC is really well made. So, oh my god. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so let me. Where'd that other one go? Oh, I put it in the drawer.
So Soundwave DeBoss says, between Toho Studios and Legendary Pictures, what company do you think does it better with making Godzilla a villain or an anti-hero?
Oh, I mean, I think they've gone in completely different directions. I mean, that's kind of the idea. Is like in Toho, the monsters are Godzilla specifically is pretty consistently a villain, and or rather, he's just this. Well, because they haven't introduced any other monsters, there's no there's been like Godzilla in all the movies they've made has been nothing but either a villainous force or this thing that you kind of have to learn to live with. In a way, he's like an embodiment of trauma. And I think that really works for the Japanese side of things. And I mean, Legendary wants the classic 70s style. They want the superhero Godzilla, which again, there's nothing wrong with. It just depends on your taste and depends on what you're in the mood for.
Next up, Tony asked about G-Fest. Yes, we will be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he will be doing commissions. About a week or 10 days before, he'll open up online commissions.
Yeah.
And there will be X number of slots for that. And then we will hold back 4 to 6 slots Friday morning and Saturday morning, but it's first come, first serve.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have 3 different chances to get a commission. And that's just for people at G-Fest. You have to physically be there. It's not for everybody. We have a separate list for that, which, because the summer convention center, convention schedule has started, is kind of closed right now until maybe the fall.
Yeah,
we'll be there.
Yeah, we will be there. With bells on, literally.
Big Bad Shadow Man. The Tokusatsu crossover I'd like to see is Ultraman and Ghostbusters, because the Forbidden Words episode and the Choose the Form of Your Destroyer would work too well together.
That's a really fun idea. It makes me, oh man, now I want like a Ghostbusters Godzilla crossover, so they like fight the ghost of the ghost of the 54 Godzilla. Because Ghost Godzilla is something.
He would be like what's that 80s fear movie with the long nails. Anyway, he got burned.
Freddy Krueger.
He'd be like Freddy Krueger. He's all burned up because they killed him. So he'd be all covered.
Well, he would be very upsetting looking.
Exactly.
Ghost Godzilla is definitely something that they have toyed with in the past, but haven't really like
well, there's your
committed
next comic
to.
book proposal.
Well, I am doing a print of that basic idea.
You are?
For Cursed City Con later this year, but I don't want to go into too much detail.
Speaking of cons, which ones are we going to this year? We can kind of wrap up the show with. I
need to stop. My arm is actually starting to hurt. That's okay. I'll do my stretches. So we're doing Kauai Comic-Con out in Hawaii next weekend.
Yay!
So hopefully if you're in Hawaii hearing this, come on out to Kauai. Just do a little island hopping. I'm sure it's real easy. And that'll be, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. After that, we're doing Kaiju 4, which is an art and like a little art show in San Antonio. That'll be the weekend after Kauai. And I think we got a little break. And then in July, we're getting a triple punch of G-Fest on the weekend of the 12th. Yeah, that's the weekend after that is Greater Austin Comic-Con. And then the weekend after that is Corpus Christi Comic Con. We're doing a lot of stuff in Texas this year.
Yeah, way more so than we did like right after COVID.
Yes. And then I think the one after that is going to be
I can look at your calendar.
Dragon Con in Hotlanta. But there might be some little stuff kind of interspersed. Still, like, there's some folks who have reached out about like specific stuff, and I'm just like, I don't know, maybe if you know, if you want. I know that Monster Palooza is going on this weekend. I would like to do Son of Monster Palooza, but I haven't heard an announcement for that yet.
The Godzilla Gallery LA.
No, that's Kaiju. That's Kaiju Go. Oh yeah. Kaiju Go is a one-day show in Dallas. Man, again, a lot of Texas shows.
And then after Dragon Con.
Then Dragon Con, and then Curse City Con in September. And then maybe if we could get into New York Comic Con, I'd love to do that. And then I think that's it until we hear about Tokyo Comic Con.
That goes through October.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
And if you know of any local cons that are really big and popular and would like to have Matt there, you can let us know or contact the convention itself and say, hey, we want a Matt Frank here.
That's in a nutshell. Yeah, well, I think we're going to call it, guys. Thanks for joining us. How many people we got? We got 13. Jesus. And most of it is on the Tweetars. No one on Facebook. Thanks for nothing.
There was 2 people there a little bit ago.
That's okay. A couple people on YouTube, a couple people through Twitch. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Matt's gonna take a break and play some Dave the Diver, and then I've got to get my spoons back, and then I have to get another big thing done tonight, and then a bunch of other stuff, so just showing off the print again. And Caston will share it in the comments. This is our Pride print for this month. We really appreciate everybody's kind words about it. I really wanted to do something. I really wanted to do something nice for Pride this year. It was actually Donnie Winter who was kind of inspired it because I did some Mothra Pride art like years ago. That was just a cute little Mothra with a little rainbow coming out of its butt, and then this year I want to do something a little more literal for Rainbow Mothra. Yeah. So anyway, so buttons.
Well, thank all of y'all for coming.
Yes,
we love doing this.
I love that we have 1,300 people watching. That is freaking awesome. It really means a lot. We'll definitely have to do this more often, especially because I have to do more of these. So maybe we'll make this into a semi-regular thing where I'll do more Godzillas.
Yeah, maybe we'll have time before G-Fest to build some more. So.
I hope so. Anyway,
that's it.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.